once again for Uncle Matt's Bedtime Story. Hello everybody, it's Uncle Matt and I'm here to read you another bedtime story. And I don't know about you, but do you have any grandparents? Maybe a grandmother or grandfather? Are you kind of embarrassed about them? Or maybe you love them a lot, maybe you're really proud of them. Well, I want you to imagine if you took your grandpa to school, okay? And I don't know, you went for show and tell and kind of showed off your grandpa. Would you want to do that? Would you be embarrassed? Do you think that your friends would even understand what grandpa is saying? Well, we got a story about that. This is called The Frank Show. Granddad Frank is a real class act, okay? The Frank Show, written by David Mackintosh. And this story was copyright way back in 2012. Are you ready? Here we go. There's a little bit there. You can see things that Grandpa likes. Okay. My granddad's name is Frank. Frank lives at our house, and he's always around. Frank talks about what things were like when he was a boy my age. He says things were a lot tougher back then. Frank says that it was a lot quieter when he was my age. You could hear yourself think. He yells, my teacher has asked us to talk about one member of her family for show and tell on Friday. We can choose one person and talk for 1 minute about the things they like and what kind of person they are. I asked Mom if I can talk about her, but she says that she is very busy and that I should speak to my father when he gets off the phone. Dad says, why don't I talk about Minnie, my sister? Minnie won't make a good subject to talk about, so I tell him I'll think about it. The only person left is Frank, but Frank is just a granddad. Frank always says, these days there are too many gadgets and gizmos. I prefer doing things the old-fashioned way. On this typewriter, the prehistoric brand typewriter, today, I told my teacher that Mom was very busy and Dad had a very long day, so the only person left in my family to talk about was Frank, my granddad. She said, fabulous, but I don't know about that. At home, Frank says he doesn't like fancy food. Plain and simple, that's me. Plain and simple, that's me, he reckons. I wonder if there is anything about Frank that will make my talk interesting. On Tuesday at the shops, Frank says he only needs his haircut once a year, and he doesn't trust barbers. He says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I can do without their input. And I just have mine tidied up. My friend Tom says that his Uncle Marlin is a musician who plays drums on the radio. Tom says he's allowed to bring his drumsticks on Friday. His uncle is cool. That night I asked Frank if I can. Oh, let me read that again. That night I asked Frank if he can play a musical instrument, maybe an electrical guitar. Frank says, "Today's music is just noise and you can't understand the words." He only likes listening to his music and says, "They don't make 'em like that anymore." Barbara Bailey told me that she's going to bring a color photo of her Nan's mobility scooter. Her Nan's a retiree and secretary of a bowls club. Maybe I should take a color photo of Frank. That night I asked Frank why he doesn't drive a scooter or play bowls. I think we mean bowling here in this country. Frank says, "Doctors speak a lot of mumbo-jumbo and bowls as dull as an old dishwater." He doesn't trust doctors as far as he can throw them, which isn't far on account of his arm and one of his hips. Kristen's dad is a comedian on TV who makes everyone laugh. Paulo's mom is Italian and knows all about Italian and can speak Italian. Faye's cousin tells you if your bag's too heavy at the airport. Donnie's dad works in a crisp factory. Sol's aunt swam the English Channel. Hugo's stepbrother has a sports car with an 8-ball gear knob. And it says here, my granddad's arm hurts when it's about to rain. I wish I could choose Tom. He's my age and I've known him since January. Tom carries a full deck of modern marvels flashcards in his back pocket, and I'm the only other person he lets hold them. He's smaller than me, but that doesn't matter when you're best friends. Tom asked me why I chose Frank for my talk, because Frank's just a granddad. I didn't know what to say, so now Tom and me aren't speaking. On the way home, I don't care if Tom thinks Frank isn't a good talk. Tom doesn't know Frank like I do, and doesn't even live at my house with my family, so what does he know? But then, Tom might be right, because everyone has someone interesting to talk about, and Frank is, well, just my granddad. I really like Frank's vehicle's license plate, 388OAP, and that could mean 388 old age pensioner. Yeah. My granddad doesn't always like the way things are, and he's always does things his way. He doesn't like noise or today's music or gadgets and gizmos or new things or haircuts or weather or doctors or any sort of ice cream that isn't vanilla. And today I have to talk all about him for a full minute. In class, everyone is excited. They have all spoken for a full minute each about a member of their family, even Clive Martin. Then we all have to look out the window to see Hannah's mom's company car. Everyone in my class has someone interesting to show and tell. But now it's my turn to talk about Frank. I tell them everything I know about Frank, how Frank doesn't like noise or today's music or gadgets and gizmos or new things or haircuts or weather or doctors or anything but vanilla, and how about everyone and everything was a lot tougher when he was a boy my age, and that's it. I've run out of things I can say about Frank, and everyone is looking straight at me when Frank begins to tell a story about how he led an army in a charge across a muddy battlefield, with bullets whistling all around like African bees, and how the whole way he didn't miss a single note on his bugle, except when an explosion made him play a sharp instead of a flat, and how he gave his last drop of water to a thirsty horse and captured 100 enemy soldiers with nothing but his wit and brute force, and how later he and his buddies had a green tattoo put on their arms to remember that day. Frank explains how he has a piece of metal left in his elbow from when he was in the war, and every time it's about to rain, I know because my arm goes numb. Sheldon Robe asked if getting a blurry tattoo hurts, and Frank winks and says, "You bet it did, hombre." Then we all were on lunch. So, looks like they're all talking about stuff here. They're talking about he's older than all of our birthdays added up. And another comment, he has a rubber band ball that is 28 years old. And another one says, "Can you hear me now?" Another one says he keeps a real Japanese sword under his bed. Another person says he can't smell anything because of an amateur boxing career. Another person says he keeps a folded $50 bill in his shoe and a double-headed coin in his hip pocket. Another person says he hasn't bought a new pair of pants in 10 years. Another person says he can catch a fly with his bare hand and let it go. Another person, he has a special backup hearing aid that doesn't use batteries. Another person, my teacher is just his type. Another person, he carries colored combs in his pocket, and you can see them sticking up behind the pins. And everybody cheered for my granddad, Frank, and me. Wow, looks like they were a hit. On the way home, Tom asked if he could visit Frank and me at our house one day, and I said, "You bet you can, hombre." The end. Well, very cool. I like that story. It made me think about, sometimes we know people in our family and you kind of know everything about them, and eventually you feel that, oh, it's kind of boring. It's, meh. But it often takes a time when maybe another family member comes and that person chats to your friends or the school like they did here, and you start to learn something again. You actually think, oh, maybe this person is special and has things to offer. Interesting, hey? Well, that's all the time we have for Uncle Matt's bedtime story. I hope you enjoyed that story, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.